Hi everyone, I'm David Aragona, he's Mike Beer, and we're taking a look at the last of the Grade 1 races on Friday of this Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. Race 13 is the Grade 1 Just a Game, going the 1 mile distance for the fillies and mares. And speaking of the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival, you want to check out our Belmont Stakes packages at DRF.com. You can save up to 52% of the value of the 5-day package, in which you get all access PPs for all 5 days of this Belmont Stakes Racing Festival, as well as clock reports from Mike Welsh and his team, the betting strategies that Mike and I will be writing, and you get to save 52% of the value of all of those things if you had purchased them individually. So you definitely want to check out that deal at shop.drf.com. Mike, I think you can make the argument that this Just a Game is the most interesting race of the Friday card.
It's a really, really good one. You're right. They got a big field. It seems like it's ultra competitive. The first 4 from the Grade 1 Jenny Wiley are here. You got a couple of newly turned 4-year-olds from the Chad Brown barn, both who have some real ability. There's another Euro shipper, Grade 1 placed Euro shipper now with Bill Mott. It's a really good race.
And speaking of Chad Brown, he has had a stranglehold on this race. He has won 7 of the last 8 editions of the Just a Game. Only Charlie Appleby's been able to upset him, and he didn't send anybody this year. So Chad Brown looking to get back to the winner's circle again in this Just a Game, and he will send out the horse that I pegged as the morning line favorite, the number 8 Excellent Truth, looking to avenge her unlucky loss in the Jenny Wiley last time. To see where she and some others might be placed in the early stages of this race, let's take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector. And Mike, it does feel like there's some speed in this race for a turf route. You've got a couple of horses drawn right in the middle of the pack in Kehoe Beach and Do-Gooder that feel like they've got to go forward to have their best chances.
Yeah, I wonder how much Do-Gooder stepping way up in class here. I wonder how much she can affect the running of this race here. It feels like if they're going to run her here and she's going to try to win this race, they got to go to the front and see what happens. She's going to have to deal with Kehoe Beach in that regard, though. Kehoe Beach, I mean, not only is she a better horse than Do-Gooder, but she's fast.
She really is. And the number 2 Special Juan's got some tactical speed as well. They'll probably look to get her right into the pocket behind those two. Let's go through this field from the rail out, beginning with the number 1 Dynamic Pricing, a horse that showed some ability during her 3-year-old season, Mike, but didn't always get ideal trips. She drew some wide posts, got hung out wide around the turns in a few of those races, wasn't able to win quite as many of them as you might have expected based on her victory in the Edgewood going all the way back to the spring of last year. She came back off the layoff in the Bogey last time, and yet again, not an ideal trip as she gets spun out very wide at the top of the stretch by horse Rakia, who was drifting out all the way around the far turn. And Dynamic Pricing this time was able to overcome that trip and get the victory anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It made her go really wide, and the horses that ran 2nd and 3rd both got inside runs on her, and it felt like they really got the jump on Dynamic Pricing. I guess the flip side of that, and I feel like she's going to be a good enough price that I don't really want to discuss the flip side here, but they really went in front of her that day, though. You know, she got some real pace to run into that day because her stablemate Spaladay, for some reason, decided to go up there and make that pace go early. So the pace was there for her, but she still ran really, really well again. She's underrated.
Horses have come back to run well out of that Bogey, including Spaladay, who you mentioned came back to win a stakes at Monmouth next time. I wonder if the mile is a little sharp for this filly. I like her going a little bit longer than that, but she did finally draw an inside post. The number 2 is Special Juan, and she's coming off a little bit of a layoff here since she won the Grade 3 Honey Fox at Gulfstream back in early March. She looked good winning this race, Mike. She kind of had to sit off a runoff leader in the early stages of that race, but was able to reel that foe in and won that race just kind of getting away from the field at the wire. She was a vet scratch, I believe, out of the Distaff Turf Mile on Kentucky Derby weekend. So she's had a setback since then, but she's been training more consistently for this race, and she's one that seems like she really is at her best going this mile distance. Yeah,
this is a great distance for her. She feels like she's got the right running style for this race too, where she could just fall into a trip here if they go fast in front of her. I thought her Honey Fox win last time was fine. I wasn't blown away by it. I thought she ran well enough in there. This just happens to be a way tougher field. We'll see how much she can improve.
The number 3, Suggesta, is another Chad Brown trainer, another one that could be double-digit odds in this race, and she's also, like Dynamic Pricing, making her 2nd start off a layoff in here. Now, she was not successful when she came off the layoff, but she ran into She Feels Pretty, who's going to be a handful in a Grade 1 race earlier on this card. And Suggesta set the pace, was vying for the front end, just got tired at the end, going the 9-furlong distance that day against what was arguably a slightly better rival than she's meeting here. And Mike, she showed real ability during her 3-year-old season, just got cut short last summer.
Yeah, really, really liked her last year too. I thought she was trending the right way right when everything sort of stopped with her after a really good effort in the Belmont Oaks at Aqueduct in early July. they just sort of forced her on the lead last time. She had a long shot up there, sort of not letting her get a breather in there. She wasn't going to beat She Feels Pretty anyway, but I wasn't that disappointed with the run. To me, she's not a horse that they need to go forward with. I know she's been on the lead a couple of times, but she does not need the lead to be effective. I think she's really, really talented, and I think she's going to run way better on Saturday.
And I seem to remember her dam, Antono, did pretty well in this race about a decade ago, a Just a Game winner. The number 4 is Simply in Front, and she is coming off a victory going this distance in the Distaff Turf Mile on Derby weekend. And Mike, she was never towards the inside that day. She was 3 to 4 wide all the way around the racetrack. Now, arguably, you could get outside trips that weekend and be just fine at Churchill. It was a very fair turf course, but she was able to come down to the center of the track and wear that field down to win at 15 to 1. She's stepping up against the tougher field here, but she's probably going to be a price again. Yeah,
she should be a good price again. And listen, she took a little bit of a step forward there. You like to see these newly turned 4-year-olds move forward, and she moved forward in her seasonal debut. Can she move forward again?
The number 5 is Kehoe Beach, and she's one of the few coming out of the Jenny Wiley. And it's one of those races where having an opinion about the trips in the Jenny Wiley is really key to handicapping this Just a Game. And Mike, I'm curious to know what you thought of the way that Frankie Dettori rode Kehoe Beach, because for a speed horse, it didn't seem like he was too concerned with ever trying to save ground.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about. It ultimately wound up, and at least in my opinion, it wound up costing him at the end of that race. He kept her off the rail the entire way, and the 1-2 finishers, the 2 fillies that outfinished her in that race, came right up to her inside in the stretch, got by her. Kehoe Beach, to her credit, she fought really hard in there, couldn't ultimately get her way back in front at the end of that race, but I thought she ran fine in there. I think she's got a lot of talent, David. I think she's going to be right up on the pace in this race, and I think she's dangerous.
Yeah, I think sometimes the thought process is with riders, if you keep speed horses off the rail, they turn off and relax a little bit more, like when they gallop in the mornings, but it did leave the rail completely open for those top 2 to come on through. The number 6 is Do Gooder, who's probably going to be the biggest thorn in the side of Kehoe Beach if she runs in this race, Mike, because this filly has a lot of early speed, and yes, she's stepping way up in class against the toughest field that she's ever faced by far, but she's been visually impressive in her last couple of starts down at Gulfstream. And I checked out the workout video of that 57-2 workout on the Oklahoma training course the other day. She absolutely ran off on the exercise rider, was totally uncontrollable. If she shows that kind of speed here, it's a problem for Kehoe Beach.
Yeah, it's a problem for Kehoe Beach. It's also a problem for Do Gooder, I guess, if she's going to do that. I mean, listen, I understand she's run the 2 best races of her life since they brought her back from the layoff. So now you want to test it and find out exactly how good she is. Well, you know what? They'll find out how good she is in this race on Friday. This is a really good field.
The number 7, A Lilac Rolla, is one of the more interesting contenders in this race because she's coming off a layoff, making her first start in this country. She's one of these horses that was purchased by Resolute Racing for $1.3 million at the end of last year. And you can kind of see why, based on her credentials from over in Europe. Runner-up in the Irish 1,000 Guineas, and then 3rd place in the Falmouth Stakes behind Porta Fortuna, who is a pretty well-regarded miler overseas. But Mike, her season was cut short halfway through that 3-year-old year, so she's coming off a pretty substantial layoff here. And Bill Mott doesn't have the best stats with these types over the years, but he can certainly get one ready.
No doubt. I mean, I think more than anything else, though, I just don't necessarily like this spot for her, for her seasonal debut and for her stateside debut either. If I'm being honest, I thought her races over there were good. I didn't think they were great. And I don't know, to me, I didn't like her that much in this race.
The number 8, Excellent Truth, is the horse that I did peg as the morning line favorite in this competitive race, and she arguably might have been best in the Jenny Wiley last time. You could have different opinions about that, but I think the stewards could have taken the winner down that day and potentially put her up. I know that that's something that was discussed ad nauseum afterwards, but Excellent Truth was trying to angle outside of Choicey at mid-stretch and just couldn't quite get through that hole before it closed up, and probably would have won that race otherwise. Mike, this is a horse that showed a lot of talent overseas. Last year was second in the Group 1 Prix Rothschild in France, so she's got the credentials, and now second off the long layoff. If she improves at all, she's going to be tough in this spot.
I absolutely agree. I mean, she did come over in good form, and then just, you know, it's hard to say that she was definitely going to win there, but it felt like she had a real shot at it there. And it's not like, you know, Pratt really had no choice in that race because the horse that was on the lead, Choice, who wound up winning, sort of stayed down towards the inside initially, so Pratt had to move to the 2-pat there, and then as soon as he did that, they came out and they bothered this horse, and I do think it probably cost her a win last time. She's really good, and she's probably the horse to beat.
Yeah, I do think she was going to win, but I also believe she would have done it with an absolutely perfect trip, so I don't want to give her too much credit for that race. The number 9 is Choicey, who won the Jenny Wiley last time, and everything just worked out perfectly for her. She got right into the pocket, and then as Kehoe Beach just kept drifting out further and further off the rail, it's like the Red Seas parted for her at the top of the stretch. She got got to shoot right on through. We already knew from her races in Dubai this winter that she had really developed her turn of foot. She's a strong finisher when she's able to get that run through along the inside. The problem is now, Mike, she was post 2 last time. She's post 9 this time. I wonder if she's going to get the same kind of trip.
Yeah, you can't count on her getting that trip again. What you can count on, I think, is her showing up and running another good one, because she's in great form right now. I also sort of feel like, David, a mile and an eighth, 2 starts back, she won in Dubai. I don't think that's a great distance for her, but not only she wins, she beat Cinderella's Dream that day, who to me is a top horse. We'll see here this summer. Mile and a 16th last time, and she got the job done. I think the mile's even better for her. You just got to time it right. She's got a real quick acceleration, but she doesn't carry it that far, I don't think.
Mike, I think you could look at the number 10, Heredia, one of 2 ways. You could say, watching the Beaugay last time, that she got a way better trip than the winner dynamic pricing. She saved ground, got to come on through, cutting the corner at the stretch, stuck her head in front, and got run down at the end. So you typically don't want to see that. However, it was her first start off an extremely long layoff. We hadn't seen her since October of 2023, and she had gotten really good during that 4-year-old season in 2023 over in England and Ireland. I mean, she won a Group 3 event in September of last year with a big turn of foot, really impressively, and then even held her own in the Sun Chariot against the likes of Inspiral and Marquise de Sevigny, who are legitimate Group 1 quality milers overseas, not just against the females, but also against the males. So if Heredia just really badly needed that last start, which Graham Motion has strongly suggested in his pre-race quotes that he didn't even want to run her in that race, he wanted an allowance. If she can step forward and get back to that prior form, she fits with these.
It's a reasonable assumption to make, too, that she just really needed that start, as well as that trip worked out for her. It was a 575-day layoff. She had a right to get a little tighter in there. I agree with everything you said about her form over there before she endured that long layoff, too. I mean, the kind of filly who started out with a lot of potential, you always expect these kinds of horses to get better when they turn 4. She got better when she turned 4, and now she's second off the layoff.
The number 11, Sacred Wish, is a Grade 1 winner going this 1 mile distance. She achieved that in the Matriarch at the end of last year, but did so with a great trip, saving ground over that Del Mar turf course. Mike, she was in that Jenny Wiley. Didn't love the trip that she got. She was just sort of never towards the inside, tried to go wide on the turn, and looked like John Velasquez almost gave up prematurely on her because he got into her again really late, and she was actually finishing a bit at the end. Her last race, though, was a problem. I know she had trouble at the start, but she just didn't really lift a hoof after that. Yeah,
I didn't like her last race either. I mean, she didn't break sharply for whatever reason. Then she's last, which I don't think is a great position for her to be in. I mean, I feel like if I wanted to make excuses for her last 2 starts, I could. I'm just not really sure if I want to against this field. She's a really nice horse. She's really consistent. I just don't think she's as good as some of the others in this field.
Yeah, post 11 is tougher because she's the kind of horse that I think really does need to save ground against a field of this quality. Mike, where'd you go in the Just a Game?
It's a really, really good race. I could have made cases for a lot of different horses. I was a Sagesta fan last year. I thought she was right there with She Feels Pretty and Cinderella's Dream at the top of the 3-year-old filly division, and she didn't get to race through the summer. Now she's back. She's second off the layoff. She's a price in here. I'm betting her.
Gonna try to keep that Chad Brown train going, but maybe with one of the bigger prices. We've seen that work before at Saratoga. I put the number 10 Heredia on top. I like both horses coming out of the Beaugay. I think dynamic pricing is going to run well, but Heredia feels like the one that might have the upside second off that very long layoff here. I was so impressed with her turn of foot overseas, and if Manny Franco can take her back, hope some pace develops, and unleash that turn of foot in this race, hopefully it works out. I do feel like she's going to be a big price. Actually, both horses Mike picked are 15-1 on my morning line. The number 10 Heredia for me, the number 3 Sagesta for Mike, and one of the more interesting races to handicap on Friday of this Belmont Stakes Racing Festival, the Grade 1 Just a Game. Good luck with your wagers later this week.